Good evening and welcome to ELOSOFUMARTAKES. This is our 73rd take live from Euless, Texas. I am Bear Duplessis as always, and I'm so glad, so pleased, and it is so awesome to welcome you all in tonight. I'm just thrilled to have all of you, and I'm thrilled to have our guest this evening, who I'll be introducing momentarily. But I just wanted to say that I'm really excited about this particular take for a number of different reasons, which we'll get into tonight. But if before we go any further, we have to thank the people that make this show possible, and that is our sponsors. And this show, of course, is sponsored by someone I think our guests will be quite familiar with. This show is sponsored by Drew Estate. Drew Estate, which has just released the Deep Purple with Acid Plush. Continuing their celebration of the 20th anniversary of Acid, Drew Estate announces the nationwide release of Acid Plush, and they announced it to the attendees of the 2019 TAA trade show just last month. Now is the time to experience the power of Deep Purple with the premium Acid blend. Acid Plush is all at once rich, dense, and wonderfully aromatic. Plush features a shimmering broadleaf Maduro wrapper and lush Nicaraguan binder and filler. Jonathan Drew, founder and president of Drew Estate, notes the Purple line has been the quiet second champion in the Acid collection, but to so many, a crowd favorite due to its unique sizes and award-winning blends. The hearty Acid Purple lineup now includes Extraordinary Larry, Rome, C Notes, Crush Morado, Croqueta, which we'll be talking about tonight, and the Plush, which I will be lighting up very shortly. So really excited about that. And if you guys are tuning in and watching us on YouTube, we really appreciate it. Everyone loves watching and just my awesome beard and my handsome good looks and the great looks of all my guests. But if you do happen to listen to us wherever podcasts are being listened to, whether that be Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Podbeam, or wherever podcasts you listen to, you are listening to exclusively because of Cornelius and Anthony's Cigars. Cornelius and Anthony Premium Cigars is steeped in tobacco tradition. For 150 years, the Bailey family has been part of America's tobacco heritage, passionately caring for the land they cultivate in Keysville, Virginia. Cornelius and Anthony's devotion to the finest grown tobacco and foremost aspects of craftsmanship allows them to introduce the most exquisite cigars to the market. They invite you to enjoy their portfolio of premium hand-rolled cigars and experience their dedication to producing an exceptional product. So if you're listening to us via any podcast network, you are listening to us exclusively because of Cornelius and Anthony Premium Cigars. And so that leads us to our phenomenal guest that I have tonight. I'm so excited and so pleased to welcome this individual. He is absolutely one of my favorite people in this industry. For a number of different reasons. He absolutely his role and what he's done absolutely fascinates me, and I'm going to be sharing a lot of that with you tonight as he will as well. And I'm so excited and so pleased to welcome in Dirty Fabien Ziegler of Drew Estate Cigars, and that is the last time I'm going to be referring to you as that nickname because I don't know why it bothers me. But Fabien Ziegler, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. I'm excited. Thanks, Bear. It's great to see you. Great to be on the show. So I'm looking forward to this, man. It's going to be awesome.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it as well, man. Thank you so much for making the time. I know we're going to be getting into it a little bit later, but I know you had an action-packed weekend already, and you're home safe and sound in Florida. Ahead of the storms, I'm assuming, because the storms definitely hit Texas yesterday. That was entertaining for me. I was trying to get back home as well.
Yeah, I was 4 hours south. I think 4 or 5 hours south of you yesterday. So yeah, it was a little thing called the Texas Cigar Fest.
Yes, and it's such a great event with so many great companies like Drew Estate were there yesterday. I saw a lot of former guests of ELOSOFUMARTAKES were there, and some fabulous consumers as well that make this industry go. So I will be talking a little bit more about that because I'm really excited what you were saying was going on with Drew Estate down at the Texas Cigar Fest. So we're going to be talking about that in a little bit. But I do want to open up the show with you and I've had this conversation, and my viewers and listeners know this about me. Infused cigars are typically not my bag, but I don't scoff at them in the way that I used to. And you've had a lot to do with that. and so I'm going to be lighting up the Acid Plush, which I'm actually really excited about. My wife, oddly enough, is excited that I'm smoking this. I got the package from you guys the other day, and Really thankful that I got to be able to experience this. I'm really excited. And I pulled it out, and I smelled it, and I was like, hey, you got to smell this. And my wife took it, who doesn't smoke cigars, doesn't really particularly care for them, supports me in my passion, but it's not her thing. It's not her bag. And she's like, wow, that's quite pleasant. So,
Yeah, see,
so
there we go. All right.
it's the little crack in the window that we hope to finally get through and everything. So
Yep.
why don't we talk about this this amazing cigar I'm about to light up? So what the Acid Plush is the newest addition to that, and the Croquettes are the newest additions to the purple line. So
Yes.
what is particularly special about this Vitola for this blend?
Okay, so here's the thing, right? So why are we releasing acid? Well, we're releasing acid because we're celebrating a small little milestone for a brand that most people said wouldn't last 6 to 8 months. They said that about 20 years ago. So we're actually celebrating acid 20. So all you acid smokers, whether you're smoking acid cigars right now or in the last 20 years, thank you very much for smoking, for enjoying an hour with us and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's this year you're going to see a lot more acid coming out from us because acid 20 is a big year, man. We're very excited. Last year at the IPCPR, we were just told that acid became the #1 selling brand in the U.S. So we're very happy about that.
Congratulations, that's terrific.
A lot of Cuba Cubas and a lot of Blondies and a lot of other stuff. So there's a lot of acid smokers out there. So to answer your question, like you had said earlier, the purple line was full of bad news bears, as I say. You had all the misfit sizes. I mean, you have C notes, which are little cigarillos, even smaller than cigarettes. You had a
I was
little.
going to say they're half cigarillos almost.
Exactly. And then on the other side, you have the Extraordinary Larry, which is a 6x60, right? And right somewhere in the middle, you have actually the only true Churchill that we make, which is the Acid Rome. So if someone is looking to smoke I say a normal size cigar, whether it's a Toro or Robusto, Toro being the #1 selling size in the US right now.
Correct.
And they wanted to smoke a Toro size pretty much in the purple line. They're like out of luck because you're either smoking very small or very big or the Churchill. So it was just a matter of time for us to come out with a Toro size. So that size is actually I don't know if you're going to call it a Toro or a big Robusto because I believe it's a 5.5 by 50, right? So it's a 5.5 by 50. Yes. And it has that beautiful broadleaf wrapper. So the broadleaf wrapper for all your knowledgeable audience is the same wrapper that we use as the Liga 9, which is a brand that we're doing pretty good with, and we're selling lots of those. So what you should, the
10th anniversary of Liga last year.
10th anniversary of Liga last year, yes, and we launched the acid or the Liga Aniversario and the Liga H99 in very small dosage because we had very small raw materials. So we're waiting for the farmers to grow more of that tobacco, and there's going to be more coming and whatnot. But that was last year. That was Liga last year. Now we're this year, and it's all about acid. So what you should be tasting is, first of all, very, very smooth. With that broadleaf wrapper, it's a very thick wrapper, so you get some oiliness. So that adds to the smoothness. It's gonna be right in the middle as far as sweetness, but for you, it might actually be very sweet at the beginning, only because you're not used to smoking a sweet cigar. So what's happening to you is you got like sirens in your head going sweet, 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 right? And you can't really focus on the flavor of the tobacco or the flavor of the infusions because you're like, holy crap, it's sweet. But as you go along and you smoke that cigar, you get about an inch and a half in, then those alarms are going to start going, they're going to stop and you're not going to hear them anymore. And what you're going to think is, oh, that sweetness is gone. Well, the sweetness never really goes away. What happens is your subconscious or your mind lets you does the switch, and the switch goes from sweetness against the cigar to sweetness enhances the cigar. And then right when you get that at that moment, it's kind of like the aha, and then that's where you get the whole kit and caboodle when it comes to an acid. For people like me, 9 out of 10 cigars I smoke are sweet. whether it's the acids, the laritans, the deadwoods, even the tobacs. 9 out of 10 cigars I smoke, that's that. So I look for that sweetness, and I understand that sweetness. But for some people, oh, are you posting it on the app?
Oh yeah, I'm totally doing that.
Okay, all right, get those points, man. Get those points. But for those people who aren't necessarily used to get sweets, you know, the sweetness will be the very first thing that gets your attention.
You know, it's interesting, and as you were talking, I was noticing those things like pretty quick right off the bat. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That acid sweetness right off the bat. That's not something that it's usual to my palate when I smoke cigars, because like I said, I don't smoke quite a bit of infused smokes.
We're not all perfect.
You said that to me last time. But I'll tell you what, I'll even add to your point there, Fabien. If you are not a infused smoker and you want to get the traditional wonderful tobacco flavors, because there is some amazing tobacco in this with the broadleaf and the Nicaraguan binder and fillers. If you want to really get to that, if you retrohale this cigar almost immediately, that sweetness is yes on your palate, but you get those gorgeous spices and leather notes and richness through the nose that are indicative of other great Drew Estate products like the Liga 9 and others, you know, Undercrown and other fabulous cigars that you guys make. So if you guys are a traditional smoker and you're, like you said, that sweetness attacks your palate and it's got those sirens going off, retrohale this and it just complements it so well. This is a very rich cigar with that sweetness, yes, but those spices through the nose really make this quite the enjoyable cigar so far. And I'm all all puns aside, I'm not blowing smoke in your face. I'm being real here. So
nice. Well, that's good. And you know, it is going to be a mild to medium body cigar as far as strength, which is going to be one of the stronger acids, because most acids are on the mild end. It does touch some of the medium towards the end, because but it's never going to be overpowering. What you're going to get overpowered with is flavor. You know, I mean, in a cigar you have two scales. You have the flavor scale and you have the strength scale. Now, as a manufacturer, and you know this also by working in stores and talking to end consumers all the time, we use the same words to describe the different scales. So if someone wants a full body cigar, sometimes they want full flavor, sometimes they want full strength, and they don't necessarily maybe know what they're asking for. But you know, that's where we have to kind of talk and ask questions and really see what they're looking for. You know, I'm sure there's plenty of people out there if they ever smoked cigars, and what I say are flat cigars. And what I mean by that is that where it starts is where it ends, half hour, 45 minutes later. And maybe you like those cigars, maybe you don't like those cigars. Are those cigars good or are those cigars bad? That's not the answer. What the answer is the flavor is below the strength. So in that cigar, the strength overpowers the flavor, so you're just going to go as flat. But now there's a lot of cigars out there, a lot of manufacturers are actually creating cigars that take you on a journey, that tell you a story. So you start somewhere and then you end somewhere completely different, or you can actually end where you started, but you've gone all the way around to a whole bunch of different flavors in between. And what that means is that cigar was created, and it was created with more flavor than strength. And that's where the flavor goes and takes you different places. So it's all, you know, whatever you're looking for in a sense.
You know, I think you just described a good friend of yours in Willie Herrera, who did that with his original release. The original Herrera Esteli was absolutely that. It was a journey because it started somewhere. At first, it started with something before it was even lit, because you had an assumption about the cigar, and then you lit it. There was another step in the journey, and as the cigar progressed, it changed considerably. It was very complex, and you talk about complexity in cigars, and that's something that I definitely look for, and that a lot of consumers are looking for these days. And whether that's created in traditional blending with non-infused tobacco or with infusion, I think that's something that we can all appreciate as consumers, because it creates that journey that you were talking about. So speaking of journeys, you and I were talking about this before the show, and I wanted you to share it with our audience. Was what we are we are celebrating this year 20 years of Acid,
Yeah.
and Acid has three distinct pillars that you were talking about before the show that make up Acid, and so I'd like for you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so Acid Cigars, there's three main segments to it. So number one is freedom, and I'll name the three, and then I'll talk about a little bit of about the three. So number one is freedom, number two is sweetness, and number three is colors. Okay, so like I instantly saw like your hundreds and thousands of listeners scratching their heads, going, colors? What the heck is he talking about, colors? So colors is like this, right? So you grab any Acid cigar and there's going to be a color on the band, and that band is going to, yeah, like this, that's purple. And that band is going to tell you, that color is going to tell you what's infused with. So first of all, everything we infuse acids with is all natural. And I can't stress this enough. It's all natural. So whether it's all natural botanical oils or all natural herbal oils, or it's all natural. So depending on the colors, it's going to be, whatever it's infused. Another thing with colors is before Acid came out, most boxes were very wood, plain looking. You had a lot of wood, which some were varnished, some weren't. But it's kind of like the same color. So you walk into a humidor and you're just like, oh, it's wood and it's all over the place, and that's that, right? When we first released Acid, we put these bright green, bright blue, bright red, bright purple and yellow labels on the side, and it would stick out. So the color is very important to us. Sweet. So of course, if anyone smoked an Acid, they know it's sweet. So the sweetness is sometimes overwhelming, and that's where it goes. It can get us in trouble in a sense. And what I mean by that is, Cuba Cuba is our number one selling cigar. Okay, it is the sweetest.
It's not the Blondie.
No, Cuba Cuba. Yeah.
Oh,
Cuba
wow.
Cuba.
Okay.
Blondie is number two.
Okay.
But even the Blondie, so you take a Blondie or a Cuba Cuba, they are the sweetest and the most aromatic. The blue line is natural herbal oils, and it's the sweetest and the most aromatic. And for someone who maybe have never smoked a cigar, or someone who smoked been smoking cigars for 10 years, and they want to try an Acid, you do not want to try a Cuba Cuba or a Blondie first. Why? All right. Well, you're like, well, it's the number one selling cigar. It should be the one you try. Well, you might not be ready for the sweetness. You might be not ready for the infusion. So one of the ones I would point you towards, if you want to try an Acid, you either go get the toast, the Acid toast. Actually, the croqueta and the plush would be some of the ones that I point you towards. And if you are lucky enough to live close to a TAA store, which is Tobacco of America Association, there's like 73 stores all over the U.S.
The store I work at, Michael's Tobacco, is one of them.
That's right. That's right. You go to Michael's and you ask for the Acid Big Bang, and those are the three that you want to try, because it's somewhere in the sweetness level. It's somewhere in the middle. So yes, you're going to get that impact of sweetness, but you're going to get that broadleaf oiliness, those Nicaraguan spices, that earthiness from the Nicaraguan tobacco. You're going to realize, oh, that once the sweetness dissipates in your mind, which it really never dissipates off the cigar, but when it dissipates in off your mind, it allows you to enjoy that cigar. So sweet is very important, but the most important thing about Drew Estate is freedom. And what do I mean by that? Well, my tagline, and it's just me personally, I say that Acid Cigars is a cigar for everybody and for nobody. Now, people are like, oh, he's contradicting himself. Well, it's a cigar for everybody, because everyone is going to have, or is going to want, some sort of sweetness in a moment of time. They may have a sweet tooth, or they like sweet. And it's a cigar for nobody, because it's a very paralyzing cigar. People are either going to love it or they're going to hate it. But I can guarantee you, most people will at least try it because of all the hoopla and everything they've heard, and friends and family and whatnot. People are going to try it. And the freedom aspect is, be who you are. It doesn't matter if you are a cop or out in Afghanistan, or you're a lawyer, or you're a trash guy, or you're a gardener, or you're a millionaire, or you're working paycheck to paycheck. Be who you are, be proud of who you are, and spark up an acid and enjoy an acid like the next person down the road, just like we are, and whatnot. So you don't have to be a certain person, and you don't have to look a certain way, and just be yourself and enjoy what you enjoy while you're smoking an acid. So those are the three things that are very important about acid, and throughout the year you're going to see a lot of advertisements and a lot of probably me talking about those three aspects of acid.
Well, and one thing I want to show off, and this is the show that I want to talk about, just how great you guys are celebrating. This is a beautiful paleo lighter. Paleo. I say paleo. Cutter. Excuse me. Cutter. Yeah. Wow. And but you can see, for the people who can't, who are listening, unfortunately they can't, but it's got an awesome Acid 20 logo to it. Yeah. And this was a gift from Drew Estate, from you guys, and I really appreciate it. And so I'm actually going to be paying this forward. So what I'm going to be asking my viewers and listeners to do is to
Am I included?
Sure, I guess.
Oh, sorry.
But I think you have access to this, though. You might have a couple around. But but what I'm asking my viewers and listeners to do is to subscribe and review on anywhere you listen to podcasts. So that could be Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, doesn't matter. But if you subscribe, leave a review, take a screenshot picture of that review wherever you listen to podcasts, and message it to us on Facebook at ELOSOFUMAR. So if you message us at ELOSOFUMAR with that screenshot, with that picture, and say, hey, I've subscribed and I've reviewed, this is my review, the first person to do that, just the very first person to do that, when this show concludes. So don't hop on your keyboard just yet.
I got my phone.
Man, you were ready. When the show concludes, you will receive this. I'll ship it to you. I will ship it. I will pay for everything as a fine gift from Drew Estate and from ELOSOFUMARTAKES. We'll go ahead and send this to you. So subscribe and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and leave us a review. Take a snapshot of that review and send it to us, and I will send this cutter to you. Nice. And just to show you on the up and up how awesome and honest of a person I am, I don't even care what the review says. So, all right. I would hope that it would be positive, because we have amazing guests on this show. Yeah. And but I'm really excited about getting that review and subscription from you. So do that, and I will send this cutter to you. What's that?
If the first guy goes, oh, the show is great, but that guest tonight was a dick, don't send the cutter. All right, make sure it has at least something.
Yeah, okay, nice. Yeah, they can say I suck, but don't bash my guests, guys. Okay, don't bash the guests. Yeah, that I will draw. Yes, you're absolutely right, Fabien. We'll definitely draw the line there. So yeah, so let's go ahead and leave the criticism of the guest aside. Criticize me all you want, but subscribe and review, and you take a snapshot of that picture, send it to us at our Facebook page, ELOSOFUMAR, ELOSOFUMAR, and I will send this cutter to you.
Hey, it's going to be a very special, because we're only doing Acid 20 this year, and at the end of the year, we're not going to have, like, if you're going to an event, one of our events, we're not going to be doing Acid 20 next year. So if you're a collector, that's a nice way of getting one of those collectible cutters, and our cutters are being collected all over the place for some reason.
That's right. So, yeah. That's a great point, because you guys don't hold anything back when it comes to I hate using the word, but swag. I mean pairing with a company like Paleo, you guys have done, of course, Cigar, and numerous of other companies where you guys have paired with and done great accessories and stuff like that. So it's your ashtrays. Art is such a big part of Drew Estate and the culture there. And you guys do such a fabulous job. So yeah, great cutter. Subscribe and review, and we'll be sending that to you. So I really appreciate that gift, Fabien. A shout out to Joe Grow, your all's marketing director, was able to send this fabulous cigar to me and that cutter that we're going to be giving away. So excited
Joe
about
Grow
that.
is also known as Just Ed for the people who listen to our podcast. He's Just Ed. So he's
Just Ed.
Yes. Or non-traditional Joe. We're trying to make him non-traditional because he's a little too traditional. But yeah, we're trying.
He needs to smoke more acid plush, and then he'll be more non-traditional.
Well, his problem is, so he eats cheese and then he eats meat, but he never eats meat and cheese. So I think he's the only guy that was born in Philadelphia that doesn't eat a cheesesteak. So I think that's his problem.
That's,
so what, yeah, that's a topic for another day. When you have Joe here, you can ask him about it, because I'm still don't know. He still hasn't given me a right answer about that. But yeah, can you truly trust someone who doesn't eat meat and cheese?
Well, he's clearly missing out on some of the best parts of life.
Of course.
I mean, his home city aside, which makes one of the most fabulous sandwiches ever. I mean, is there anything? There are a couple of things off the top of my head: apple pie, hot dogs, baseball. But I mean, is there anything more American than a cheeseburger? I mean, seriously. No. I mean, come on.
So might not even be American. Joe may not,
like you said, topic for another day. We'll have Joe on. We'll talk about we'll have this discussion another time for sure. But we talk about non-traditional, and we've talked about the acid plush and the three segments. I said pillars, but the three segments of acid. And you guys announced another release recently with the croqueta tubos, which you guys are stacking 2 croquetas on top of each other, and that's how you guys are packaging them now. So packaging was a really big theme at this last year's IPCPR, and I don't want to go too far back in the past, Fabien, because you guys are celebrating Acid 20 and doing a lot of great things, but you guys set up a really interesting foundation at last year's IPCPR. And I was telling you this before the show, I'm a guy who really nerds out on the wrapper, binder, filler, primings, and I get into all that. And but I was absolutely engrossed with our conversation at IPCPR this year. You took us around a segment of the tremendous Drew Estate booth, and you talked a lot about packaging, precisely around the fact that you guys are doing all these releases for all the cigars, with pretty much every cigar in the Hoya to Nicaragua to Drew Estate lines, traditional, non-traditional. Like, you guys are doing tins now, and you guys are doing towers, different variations of towers, different sizes of towers. And I was really fascinated because you guys are really respecting the retailer while still maximizing your presence and making the most of that real estate. Is the Acid 20 push and the building of so much you guys have grown on, is that building on that foundation of the new packaging innovation that you guys are doing?
Well, so last year we released 13 more tins. So altogether we have 27 different tins. And like you said, pretty much every brand has a tin. Now, people are like, oh, well, why? The last thing I need is another tin, right? Well, maybe the tin's not for you, but we have plenty of cigar smokers, whether it's completely it's 0 degrees in Chicago in the middle of January, and the
polar vortex.
Yeah, the guy still wants to smoke a Liga, but he's not going to smoke a Robusto. He can bust out that little Liga 910. It's a 4x32. It's a quick 7-minute smoke, and that way he still has feeling in his toes by the time he's done, right? So we're focusing on making sure that every brand has different variances of tobaccos, but it's still to its core. And whether you smoke a tin or you smoke a Robusto or you smoke a double Corona and the Liga 9, they're all going to taste the same because we use the same tobacco. Now, the whole thing with water towers goes back to freedom. If you walk down the streets of Brooklyn, where we started, Drew Estate started in '96, and Jonathan and Marvin started in '96, and then in 1999 they started selling acid at the IPCPR, which at that time was the RTDA show. You walk down the streets of Brooklyn or Queens or any of the 4 out of the 5. I mean, Manhattan is a little less, but the other 4, and you look up and what you see are water towers. All those buildings have water towers, and water is the life of people. Imagine trying to live your everyday life without water. It's pretty, it'll be a bad thing in a sense. So water, in a sense, water towers is like the freedom. It's like, look, don't be afraid to look up. Don't be afraid to dream. And hopefully you're smoking one of our cigars while you're looking up and you're dreaming and you're having a good time, because what else? So we're trying to get packaging as far as different aspects. We're the first manufacturer to actually put loose tobacco in a box, and all the acids when they used to come out in the infused. We had infused loose tobacco around the cigar, and that created some havoc for some people, and some people loved it and some people didn't like it, because if you were to open that box, that you'd get hit like in the face by that big infusion of whatever it is, and people would keep them closed. People would open them. I used to travel, and sometimes I'd use a restroom in a cigar store, and I'm smelling, and I'm like, man, this looks familiar. It smells familiar. It's like, what is, So then I talked to the guy in the store, and he was like, yeah, I use your blue tobacco Fumar box, and I put it in the bathroom so it smells good. I'm like, oh, that's why. So yeah, I mean,
probably not what y'all envisioned, but that's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, well, see, yeah. Where the bathroom jokes are later, I was told. That's the last 5 minutes of the show. But that's what we try to do, and now we're focusing more on the way our boxes look like, the way to minimize the shelf presence without losing shelf presence. And what I mean by that is, shelf presence is very important, but humidors aren't growing. In order for a store owner to put a new box in, he's got to take a box out. It's that's just law of physics, right? So how can we get more facings in the humidor while using less space? So that's what we've asked our creative designer Joey to come up with the next level. The next level of our boxes are going to be boxes that allow us to do that.
Really great stuff. What went into the idea behind the new croqueta with the stacking them one on top of each other in a tube? Is it pretty much along that same theme and same mantra?
Well, so the croqueta is like a cigar for now, or a cigar for me, and a cigar for you, right? It's because cigars are meant to be shared. So I mean, you grab one of those tubes, and there's two cigars. They're 2.5 by 50, and together it's a 5 by 50, but it's 2.5. And I gotta tell you, that's the only difference between the plush and the croqueta is the wrapper. So the wrapper on the plush is a broadleaf, and the wrapper on the croqueta is a San Andreas. It's the same wrapper that we use for the Undercrown Maduro. And when I first tried one of those croquetas, I was like, damn, that is so good. That's good. That's really like one of my favorite acids right now. I just wish they make them longer. But as I say, a croqueta now is a cigar for me and a cigar for me later. I don't share when it comes to cigars or desserts. So if you go to eat, we're not sharing desserts and we're not sharing cigars. If I got some croquetas, but it's just, again, different ways of getting people together. You buy a cigar, and instead of buying 2 cigars, you're buying one. And hey, sometime have a quick smoke with me. Tell me a story. Have a good time. Let time slow by for 20 minutes, and then let's become adults and let's become human beings again. I mean, right now, we're more machine than human being. I believe we're more machine than human beings. I mean, we're on our phone all the time. I mean, listen, I'm on my phone a lot, and it looks like I may be working, but sometimes I'm catching Pokemon if I'm in a different area. But we're on our phones. Sometimes we just need to put our phones down and just have conversations, and more conversations about whatever. And I think the world would be a better place.
I could not agree more. Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. A lot of places that you guys could have had a lot of places that you've had conversations, a lot of conversations, and where we've had our initial conversations are at cigar events. Now, I've worked a couple of events, been privileged to work a couple of events with you in the retail sector. And
well, I've been privileged to work events with you too, my friend. Well,
thank you. But the thing that's really fascinating for people who don't know, who are listening to this show, now you're too humble to admit this, but the event concept that is so widely known today, reps, manufacturers, brand ambassadors, people who come to the store on a select day, deals to be had, all that concept pretty much originated with you. And I have said, I've used this moniker for you, and I know you're too humble to use it for yourself, but you were the godfather of the modern cigar event.
Well, thank you. It's self-preservation. I call it self-preservation, man. I mean, I'm 6'3", 267, even though I'm on Weight Watchers. So the next time I see you, I'm probably going to be in the 250s or 240s. So, I'm counting those points. yeah, I'm counting those points. You know, I'm supporting my beautiful girlfriend, and we're having a good time here, and we're counting our points and having a good time. But I like to eat, right? So when I got in this industry, it was in California, and the tobacco tax was 75%. So something unheard of in Texas, where in Texas it's like 1.1 cent per stick. In California at the time, it was 75%. It went down over the years. It went down to, I think, 29%, and then now it's right back up to like 69. But I realized that in order for me to eat and eat a lot and eat often, I had to sell boxes of cigars and not sticks. How do I get people to buy boxes? Now, imagine this. So I've been with the company since 2000, right? So I'm celebrating my 19th year with Drew Estate, and at the time when I joined Drew Estate, we had nothing but acid cigars out there. So how do I get people to buy cigars, lots of cigars, boxes of cigars, and for the most part, the cigars they don't necessarily even want, because it's very different. It's very different. At the time, there was a few flavored cigar brands, but even flavored was looked down upon, and not by any means am I saying that acid cigars are flavored, because they're in their own segment. They're infused. We don't like to use the F word around the office, so we try not to say flavored too many times, or else we have to put $1 in that swear jar in a sense.
There you go.
But the introduction of infused cigars caught a lot of people. A lot of people weren't ready. So I got to give all the props to the guys in the office, Jonathan and Marvin and Mike Salucci and David Sather, who understood what we were trying to do, which was, listen, instead of spending a lot of money in magazines to put an ad about a guy on a bike, and talking about it, let's give the reps, let's give those people sticks for you to try. Now, if we're, you roll the clock back or ahead 20 years, we can't necessarily even do that right now because of the FDA. A manufacturer can't give out a free sample. They can give out a cigar with a qualifying purchase, but we can't give out a free sample. Back then it was very different. So you can give out a free sample. So I was able to talk to people, and the principle, the concept was very easy. I was going into these stores and I'm like, when are you the busiest? I want to come and I want to talk to your customers, and I want to talk to them about these new cigars, and I want to let them try it. And the very first couple of times I was talking to these guys, they're like, what? Wait a second. You want to come to my store? You want to stand for like 2-3 hours in the humidor, and you want to sell cigars to my customers, and all I got to do is be at the register and ring them up, and I don't have to pay you? Deal. You come by every day. I'm like, no, well, it's not. Yeah, it's not like that. I mean, make sure I'm selling my cigars. I'm talking to the guys about my cigars, and it was a lot of hit and miss. But at that time, a lot of people didn't necessarily want to try acid cigars. So I gave them my little spiel, and if it didn't work, then I would point them towards a few other brands. But it was, for me, it was important for every single person to walk into the store to leave with a handful of cigars, because that's how I started building my credibility. So then you fast forward a couple of years, and then I realized that other manufacturers were doing that. Now stores were doing events every other week. It felt like, or once a month. Sometimes they're doing every week, and it lost. Events kind of lost the specialness, because it's you can only a store only has a certain amount of, as they call, whales, or big time cigar buyers, and to expect those guys to come in every single event every week to buy a box. Not that many people smoke through a box of cigars a week, so they got stuff stockpiling. So I say successful events aren't necessarily what and if there's any retailers out there, I mean, they'll probably, oh man, Fabian's completely wrong, this and that, whatever. But if they really think about it, they might understand what I'm saying. Is it's not necessarily the impact isn't in the register, even though you want the register to be big. The impact is over the history. And what I mean by that is, if I can talk to every single person that walks by, yeah, they might already smoke 2 or 3 Drew Estate cigars and 2 or 3 other cigars. And if I can hijack one of those 2 or 3 other cigars and make it one more of Drew Estate, then I've won. Over time, I've won. If I can go to a store and I talk to someone who smokes a different brand and I get him to try one of my cigars, and by listening to him and asking him the right questions, I know exactly what he's looking for. So I have a better chance of him liking it. I've won because, you know, I get more people smoking my cigars. At the end of the day, how does a manufacturer sell more cigars? Yeah, okay, well, first of all, he's got to make more cigars. And, you know, we're lucky enough to have the largest manufacturing plant in Nicaragua, actually in all over the world. We make 150,000 cigars a day, you know, 150,000 cigars a day, all hand rolled. They don't even count all the tins, which some of the tins are machine made. But yeah, 150,000 cigars a day. So
That's
we got to find ways to sell those things. And you know, how do we do it? It's everyday hand combat. You know, I say that with quotation marks. It's like, let's try one of these cigars and whatnot. So I'm more into creating experiences over events, because here's the thing. I'm not a psychologist, but I play one in the cigar industry. And what I mean by that is, if I'm talking to a guy in a cigar store and I give him a cigar and he really enjoys that cigar and he shares it with his friends, whether it's at the store or later on, and his subconsciousness is going to remember about the happiness he had for that hour while he smoked that cigar. A week later, 2 weeks later, he'll want that happiness again, and he'll go, man, I need to go smoke that cigar again because that cigar made me very happy. That's what we're looking for at events. That is being very impactful and creating experiences. Now I'm leading my way to I'm leading the witness, because you know, if we're if we're going forward, and as we alluded to it at the very beginning, I just came back from Houston at the Texas Cigar Fest.
Correct.
And the Texas Cigar Fest is at one of the Serious Cigars, which now is a Casa de Monte Cristo store. And you know, they had about between 500 and 600 people, and it's an event where there's multi manufacturers. So I think there's like 16, 17 cigar manufacturers and three or actually two cutter and lighter manufacturers. There's the CRA there, and then Cigars for Warriors, phenomenal organization to get cigars to our troops. That's phenomenal. So we're all there, and we're there doing the same thing. We're selling cigars, we're selling cutters, all that stuff. So how does Drew Estate make an impact? Well, we came up with a new thing, and we're doing this 5 times this year just to try it. And I got to tell you, after the first time, we're probably going to go and do this more often. But what we had is we called a tobacco activation. So Tobacco Especial is a cigar that we make, and a premium Nicaraguan tobacco, just like acid, which is infused with all natural botanical and herbal oils. Tobacco is infused with Nicaraguan coffee. So you have the dulce, which is like sweet, smooth, and creamy, almost like a Kahlua and cream. And then you have the Negra, the Maduro, which is more like an espresso. So a little dab of sweetness to start off with, and then more of that medium body, that Nicaraguan earthy spice, and more of that black coffee. Which, by the way, if any of your listeners or watchers want to try an infused cigar for the first time, don't even try an acid. Try one of those tobacco negras.
Great suggestion. Yeah, 100% agree.
Because you're going to get that hint of sweetness, but you're going to get that very rich, that thick smell of black coffee, and hopefully that guy likes the coffee, but the coffee, and then you're also going to get that flavor of the tobacco, that wrapper, the Nicaraguan binder, and the filler. So you get the whole package. So we had a tobacco activation. So what is that? Well, we have a guy roasting coffee and making our own special little blend of coffee, and we were pouring coffee in at the event, and we were offering them a tobacco dulce or a tobacco negra with the coffee. And you know what? By doing that, I believe we sold like 30 and 40 boxes of Tobacco Especial only, to an event where last year we probably sold like 3 or 4. Not because not because the cigar's so much better this year than it was last year, but because people that didn't try it, they've heard of it, they're scared, but when they're talking about it and they're like, oh man, I like coffee. What, coffee and cigars? Oh yeah, I do that all the time. Coffee in my cigar? Oh, why not? And so many people tried it for the first time. They came back and they're like, oh man, I got to buy a box. I love it. So it was very, very cool. And again, it goes back to you know, and not to talk bad about anyone, because everyone needs to go out there and sell cigars, and they're doing their thing, and to the best abilities. But all the other booths, people were just standing behind the table waiting for someone to come in and go, okay, these are my specials. You buy this, you get that. You know, thank you very much. This and that, whatever. Whereas we were out there, we were grabbing people. Hey, coffee! I'm yelling coffee over here, and this and that, whatever. And all these people were coming. Now, it helped that it cooled down very quickly in the evening, so people wanted to stay warm and drink coffee. But once we had them in our presence, we just killed them with kindness and great cigars, and people bought. So it was very good. It was a very good idea to from our marketing department that you know, we should activate some of our brands and take over some of these multi-vendor events where we don't necessarily want to be just another manufacturer. We want to kind of like own the place, and in our mind, we kind of own the place. And even the owner and the general manager of the store, they're shocked of how many tobacco specials they sold, and they're shocked about all the good responses when they were talking to the crowd. They're like, "Oh man, this coffee's the best. This and that, whatever." Blah blah blah. So it's we got a lot of positive feedback on that. So we're very happy.
So that kind of segues me into 2 points about your creation of the Modern Cigar event and how it's evolved into festivals like this. You know, multi vendor events and everything, and what you guys have cultivated in that. First of all, this was something that just dawned on me. By you, this like sincerely, by you creating the Modern Cigar event, you inherently invented this. Again, this just occurred to me. You inherently invented the cigar celebrity as we know it, because before that, man, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've been in this industry longer than I have, Fabien. Were manufacturers, brand ambassadors, brand owners, were they going into stores to sell to consumers, to sell to the shop owner? Yes, but to sell to consumers.
So it's a very difficult question for me to answer, because I was on the West Coast, and for some reason, not too many manufacturers went past the Appalachian Mountains, let alone the Rocky Mountains. So on the West Coast, there is hardly anyone to go out there, right? So at the beginning, you know, I can only speak from 2000.
From your personal experience, of course.
My personal experiences. Now, there were dinners and you know, a few dinners here and there where principals of the company would be at the dinner, and they would speak and they would answer questions and this and that, whatever. But spending time in cigar stores, not necessarily. It wasn't, you know, like I started doing that. Rocky Patel was also, you know, he took the torch with me, and he started traveling all over the place and doing events, and then spending a lot of time with his end consumers, and that's how the Rocky Patel brand grew. You know, at one time, the most events I ever did in the year was 237. And people are like, "Oh man, you got like 275,000 air miles. You're the man." This and that, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but it also took like 4 years out of my life. So instead of living till 90, I'll be living till 86. So I went back to the office, and I'm like, "Yo, Jonathan, hey, Marvin, I need some help out on the road." And that's where Jonathan started coming doing events, and Marvin started coming doing events. And that's how I got a lot of the principals at Drew Estate in front of our consumers. And, you know, I mean, people love to know who started it. People love to know, you know, ask him questions and whatnot. Absolutely. And the questions may not necessarily even have anything to do with cigars. It's just like, you know, it's seeing that the guy who invented that cigar or who blended that cigar puts his pants on the same way I do. So you know, why can't that specific guy go out there in his life and create something and come up with a great idea and this and that, whatever. If two guys from New York City, Marvin and Jonathan, had faith in themselves and hired the right people and created the company that they later on sold to Swisher. Why? I mean, it's like the American dream. Drew Estate is like the American dream, man. We started from nothing. We started with nothing.
A kiosk, right? That's where it started.
A kiosk in the World Trade Center.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's still a great story, no matter how many times you hear it. It's fantastic. The thing that I find really interesting about that, again, you're only speaking from personal experience, is that the cigar event has evolved. Now that's kind of been the stigma lately about cigar events. They're the same thing. Mm-hmm. But you guys at Drew Estate, you were talking about what you did at the Texas Cigar Fest just this past weekend. and what you guys have kind of been building towards. I was saying this before the show. You guys have been building toward this for a long time, and innovation has always been kind of a key theme and the core of the principle behind Drew Estate. And you guys have been building towards that evolution of the event for quite some time. It starts with, it kind of even starts the way you host retailers at the IPCPR trade show. Your booth is dramatically different than a lot of other manufacturers. It sticks out. And you guys sell the experience. I recently listened to a fabulous interview that Eddie Guerra, a brand ambassador for Altadas, did with my colleagues William Cooper and Aaron Loomis, and he said that the cigar is the cigar. It sells itself much like, he represents brands like Monte Cristo and legendary brands like Monte Cristo, H. Upmann. You represent fabulous brands like Acid and Liga Privada that have their own heritage and lineage. And the cigar stands on its own. Acid stands on its own. Liga Privada stands on its own. But you're doing much more than that. You're selling the experience.
Well,
what you were talking about earlier about that recreation of that moment.
You could create a great story, or at the same time, a story could be created while a cigar is being made. For instance, the whole Undercrown story where it was born on the factory floor. We actually had our rollers and supervisors who created that blend. So that story was created on the factory floor. It wasn't something that two marketing dudes are like, oh man, this would be a great idea. It's like we're writing screenplays here. So you can have the best story, but at the end of the day, the story sells the first cigar. The actual cigar has to be the star of it, because the first cigar will sell all the other cigars behind that. And because we have so many different cigars, we try to, every time we come out with a new cigar brand, we're looking at our portfolio as a whole and seeing where are our weaknesses and where do we not even have anything in. When we come out with a new brand, we're not necessarily looking to kill an old brand. We're trying to build another legacy brand. And by all means, I'm not saying that every brand we've come out with are legacy brands or phenomenal brands are doing very, very well. But luckily enough, more than less are actually staying on the shelves. You have Acid, that's a powerhouse. Liga Privada is a powerhouse. Undercrown is a powerhouse. Tobacco Especial is a powerhouse. So that's 4 brands right now. We even have the Silent Assassin, which is natural or / Laritan, that's been around for like 18 years, I believe. We're going to be celebrating 20 years of natural Laritan in a couple of years. And that's a very strong brand for us. And no one really talks about it. We had a blimp advertisement of a black sheep smoking a cigar going, hey, it's only natural to be different. And that was our advertising campaign, which that was like 8 years ago. And people still come up to me and go, hey, it's natural to be different. I'm like, well, yeah, it is. Keep the smoking those dirt torpedoes. But so we're creating cigars, and our stories are there, and what better way of trying to live the story instead of just telling the story? And that's what we try to do is we're taking it to the next level. Okay, all right, we're not necessarily just telling you about Tobacco Especial, about a coffee flavor cigar or a coffee infused cigar. Come into the coffee world where you're actually smelling roasted coffee. You're actually tasting a very nice coffee from Nicaragua. Whether you put cream and sugar in there, it's up to you. But you're getting wrapped up in the whole segment while you're smoking a coffee cigar. So that's where you're going to be part of the story, part of the brand, and it just, I don't want to say messes up with your subculture, but you just get all happy inside, and you're like, man, I really like it. I'm the star in my own world now, and whatnot. And I want to keep buying those Tobacco Especials. Keep buying those Tobacco Especials, I'll say.
This leads me into my last question before we go into our curveball segment. And it's interesting that you mentioned about you're not looking to kill a brand or move away from a brand. You're looking to fill a gap in the portfolio or build upon the legacy with each new introduction and each new cigar that you guys introduce to market. And it's interesting that you chose those words, because those were the very words that Willie Herrera said to me at this last year's IPCPR trade show. When I asked him, Which, when I asked him about the new Brazilian stock cut Maduro in his portfolio, the Herrera Esteli line,
Yeah.
I asked him, because I specifically asked him, I said, you had the original Herrera Esteli, which was a lighter cigar. Then you went to the Norteño. Then you introduced the Undercrown Shade, and then now we're doing, we're going back to and then of course the Undercrown Sungrown, and now you're going back to a darker cigar. I asked if that was on purpose, that up, dark, light, dark, as if that was kind of on purpose. And he said, no, Bear, I'm looking to fill a spot that hasn't been taken advantage of yet within the portfolio. So I think that's interesting, that is a theme that runs through all of Drew Estate, in the non-traditional and traditional alike. Here's my question about that particularly. We were talking about this again before the show, and we've been talking about coffee so much. Is the Isla del Sol Maduro that came out last year? You and I had this conversation at IPCPR last year, was how you compared it very specifically to not only coffee, but a specific type of coffee, which would be nitro or cold brew.
Oh, yeah.
And so was the experience that patrons and people experienced this past weekend at Texas Cigar Fest, was that built on the foundation of what we talked about this past July?
Well, so here's the thing, right? So when I describe a cigar, I describe my experience of that cigar. We can have a whole bunch of marketing thing, whatever. This is the type of tobacco. This is what you're supposed to get. Kind of like the old cigar aficionado. You're going to get hints of rosewood, and it's going to taste like rusty metal, and it's going to finish off with like leather, right? So we have all that, and then we have the personal experiences. So when we came up with when Willie Herrera and the guys in the factory came up with Isla del Sol Maduro, why? Well, first we look at our portfolio, and at the time, the coffee segment, and I mean at the time still, the coffee segment is one of the fastest growing segments in the industry, and if you really look at it, all you have to look at is other manufacturers are coming into that segment with their brands. I mean, you have Nub Cafe. Nub is a very strong brand, and now there's a Nub Cafe. Macanudo. I mean, Macanudo is a worldwide known brand, and for a long time, and they came out with their Macanudo coffee cigar. So just knowing that coffee segment is growing, and it's there now. Luckily for us, we've kind of started that with Kahlua way back when we made Kahlua for General Cigars, and then once Kahlua left. But did it really leave? Because Kahlua, the Kahlua cigar is actually Tobacco Especial Dulce. We just didn't have that. Yeah, we General didn't renew, or the Kahlua USA Liquor Company didn't want to renew the contract to use Kahlua, but we kept making those coffee infused cigars. We never had Kahlua. We had jugs of Kahlua at our factory. If they did, the workers probably would have been drinking it and whatnot. But because it's funny enough, because Bailey's is actually one of the most requested liquors down in Nicaragua, and it's hard to get. So I can only imagine what Kahlua is. Yeah, but that's for your liquor segment. 3 weeks from now, when you have a liquor guy coming on the show. So we look at our coffee portfolio, and we have a bargain brand, Isla del Sol. So in all practical purposes, to be completely transparent, what is Isla del Sol? So Isla del Sol are the trimmings of the Natural brand, the Java brand, and the Tabac brand. So that's where you get that coffee flavor. And then we put a nice Nicaraguan binder, and then it's a sun-blessed wrapper. Sumatra wrapper, and that's what the original Isla del Sol is. It comes in a cardboard box of 20 cigars. In most places for like 70, 80, $100, you get a box of 20 cigars, and you're on the road. You got your coffee cigars. We didn't have a Maduro, so why not make that same cigar with a Maduro wrapper? Were we looking to make a cold brew? Were we looking to make a nitro? No. We're just looking to make a Maduro coffee bargain cigar. Well, what did we make? We made the Isla del Sol Maduro. And what did I get when I started smoking these? I got the smoothness. That Maduro wrapper, it changes that whole cigar to the point where now it's less about the sweetness, more about the smoothness of the coffee. So as I'm talking to these coffee roasters and people who are heavily into coffee, I realize they tell me that you can have 2 or 3 people with the same coffee bean, and just by the way they roast and brew their coffee, you can have completely different flavors of your coffee. It's very interesting. So by putting that Maduro on that leaf, it instantly, it's that smoothness, and that Isla del Sol Maduro. Not that someone who smokes tobacco, I want them to smoke Isla del Sol because they're actually going backwards, and you know, they're getting more for the money. But if you're staying at tobacco, hey, keep smoking tobacco, and tobaccos are phenomenal, this and that, whatever. But if you're willing to start trying some of the coffees, try one of those Isla del Sol Maduros, because it is like that cold brew, like that nitro, that new segment, that new part of the coffee industry where everyone is going into the cold brews, the slow drips, and all that stuff. So that's what Isla del Sol Maduro is, and that's what I got out of it. And lucky enough, when I tell that story to people, they're like, "Yeah, that's right. I get the same thing." Oh, okay, all right. Well, yeah. So, lucky squirrel got lucky this time. He found a nut.
Awesome, that's fantastic. So the last thing I want to throw you, we're going to throw into our curveball segment here, which this has kind of been a recent phenomenon. You're like the 5th or 6th guest that have done it, but I like to have a little bit of, we have fun throughout the entire interview. And I, again, can't thank you enough for your time this evening, Fabien. It's been absolutely fantastic having you on. But I like to throw out a question, sometimes related to the topic, sometimes not. And, you know, I always tell people, we kind of cheat because I tell people ahead of time, because I don't like surprising people too much. Especially if there's potential for controversy. There shouldn't be too much controversy with this question. But I think it's still interesting, and I'm interested to hear your answer to
controversy with Dirty Fabien. Really, I don't know.
Who knows?
That. Yeah. I mean, damn, you know.
But
I mean,
you are somebody that you represent a brand that has, you know, as we've touched on several times this evening, and even before our interview tonight, that has a stigma to it. But you are someone that's widely respected in this in this industry for all your vast accomplishments. And, you know, Acid celebrating 20 years this year, La Rutan, Tobacco, Deadwood series. You guys have done extraordinary things with the infusion of different flavors, herbs and botanicals into different cigars. So my question to you, this is to Fabien Ziegler, not even Dirty Fabien, not even to Fabien who represents Drew Estate. If Fabien Ziegler could...
Let me put my thinking cap on. Okay, all right.
Could infuse a flavor of his choosing into a cigar that does not, to your knowledge, does not exist on the market today, what would it be?
Well, the problem is so I would go 2 ways with that answer, right? And one way we do it, and the other way we kind of do it. So you know, but I'll just say this. I don't really I'm not really a big drinker. I don't really drink that much, but what I do enjoy is a nice rum with an ice cube, and you know, 1 or 2 ice cubes and a nice rum, and I'll pleasure myself with that nice glass maybe once or twice a month, or this and that, whatever special occasion. So the very first thing is I would infuse a cigar with rum, okay? But we already do it. It's actually a cigar, and it's actually, for some reason I don't understand, it's one of our lesser known cigars. It's in the Ambrosia line, and it's the Triple Corona. Now it's a Triple Corona, so it's a big size. So it's, you know, a commitment, and you, just like me, were guys. So a lot of guys are scared of commitment. So I understand why they don't buy Triple Coronas, you know. But if you really like rum, and I do, and by all means go out there and look for, it's like a treasure hunt. You like put on your pirate hat and go look for some Triple Coronas, because you get that spiced rum cigar, not real sweet, but you get a lot real rich caramel rum flavor. And I've asked everyone, hey, what rum do we use? What rum do we use? And all I get is They won't tell me. They won't tell me. And I've
They
been
never
all
tell the sales guy anything, man. I swear to God.
no, I
It's so
know, I know.
disappointing.
Now the other cigar that I would do is I love mint, right? So I would infuse a cigar with mint. We already do it, but we don't. And what I mean by that is we actually make a Java mint.
Right.
But Java is a private line for Rocky Patel. So do we make a mint cigar? Yes. Do I smoke a mint cigar? Yes, but I sometimes have to hide it. Like, oh, what? Really? You can't smoke a tobacco especial? You have to smoke a Java mint? Like, come on! And I'm like, dude, it's out of the same factory, you know. But when I'm with my sales guys on the road, they're like, yeah, put that Java away because I'm not eating selling Javas. I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. So that's when the Deadwoods come out, right? But yeah, I would infuse a cigar with mint and make it minty, minty, minty because when I'm not smoking cigars, I'm smoking hookahs, and I love hookah. And usually when I'm in the office and I have no meetings for that day, I'm just answering emails or thinking about the next great thing to do or whatever. I got my mint hookah going, and I mean, it's smoky in my room. It's like, whoa, Cheech and Chong are in. It's smoky, and it smells like mint. So I'm hoping that we can, again, with these FDA times, it's probably going to be not impossible. And but it would be the mintiest cigar, or a rum cigar that would be a little better known, I guess. So, did I answer your question? Yes, but
absolutely.
Okay,
but yes, but no, but maybe so.
But maybe so, and that's I just end up talking and not really saying too much sometimes. So maybe I talked too much and I didn't say too much. So there you go.
I think you said quite a bit tonight. Really cannot thank you enough, Fabien, for your time this evening. Just absolutely fantastic. So if you guys are out there and you love Drew Estate, and I know you all do because it's a fantastic company and it makes some of your most favorite cigars, celebrate Acid 20 this year. And don't forget that we are doing that contest. So for the first person after the show concludes that subscribes anywhere you listen to podcasts and leaves a review, takes a screenshot and snapshot, you get this fabulous paleo cutter, not lighter, cutter with the great Acid 20 logo on there. So please do that, and you guys will win it. I will ship it to you. And help Fabien to keep eating because that's how this all got started.
That's right.
He's a guy who likes to eat, and
that's right.
And we need to keep him eating. But apparently he's on Weight Watchers, so even though he doesn't want to share desserts, I have a feeling he's going to be sharing more desserts in the future.
It's crazy because sometimes I have to look and go, should I eat that meat or should I use my 7 points for that key lime pie? Key lime pie wins.
Key lime pie.
It's funny because I know you got to go and it's almost past my bedtime here, but a lot of our cigars, I call them dessert cigars. Yeah, okay, they're sweet, right? And then I go, okay, hey, I know you like brownies. I know you like chocolate chip cookies. You should try this Dirt Torpedo because it's a blend of aromatic tobaccos that most likely be found in pipe tobaccos. If we cure them another 6 months a year, it's sweet. You're going to get hints of cocoa, chocolate, and coffee. It's like a brownie. It's my diet cigar. I smoke these instead of eating brownies. And then they look at me and they're like, yeah, you're probably smoking that while you're eating your brownie. I'm like, yeah, more often than not I am. But at least I tried, right? So I got dessert cigars and those are no points. So I'll be smoking more natural dirts or Laratan dirts and Deadwoods and acids because sweet cravings, here I come, and no points.
Exactly. So check out the new Acid Plush, which I smoked tonight and was absolutely very impressed by. Not blowing smoke at you. Very impressed by the Acid Plush, the new Croqueta as well, and all the innovative things that are going to be coming out from Drew Estate and the Acid 20 celebration this year. And we were really very pleased to host our special guest, Fabien Ziegler, tonight. You got one other point to say.
I got one more point. Is we're actually shipping out Plush and Croqueta tomorrow. So
perfect. Wow.
So we're breaking news here on your show. So we're shipping all that stuff out. So all the stores that placed orders, we're shipping them out tomorrow. So depending on where in the US you are, most likely you'll get it before the end of the week. If you're in California or Oregon, Washington, you'll get it next Monday. But yeah, you're gonna get them. And then last but not least, if you want to be friends with me on Pokemon, hit me up and we could trade Pokemons. Yes, I need more Pokemons. Joe Grow is beating me. I need more friends.
That's a
Shameless
first
plug.
for ELOSOFUMARTAKES, and I appreciate that. Absolutely.
Yes.
Again, Fabien, we can't thank you enough for your time, and it was an absolutely fantastic time to sit and talk with you about all the innovation that you do for Drew Estate and everything that Drew Estate's doing this year for Acid 20 and everything for the year to come. It's a really fantastic time. Will I be seeing you at the Barn Smoker next month in May in Florida?
For sure. Now it's Barn Smoker 2.0. So and that's where the whole tobacco activation came from, because barn smokers. So Kentucky, this is going to be our 6th year for Kentucky, and that was the original one. For Connecticut, it's going to be 5th year. Louisiana, 2 years. So people have come to barn smokers over and over and over, and they have a great time. It's a big herf. Anywhere from 450 people at the Louisiana one and Florida one to 800 people in Connecticut and Pennsylvania. And we wanted to take a step up to the next level. And what did we do? So we're actually bringing brands that have nothing to do with that specific barn, because as you know, as a barn smoker, you go to that barn and we highly talk about that tobacco that we get at that barn and all the brands that we make out of that particular tobacco. So because Acid 20 is, how in the heck are we going to have acid at a barn smoker? Well, you know what? We found a way. We found my buddy DJ Eli out of Chicago, and I don't want to say too much, but there might be a nightclub that breaks out in the middle of a farm somewhere, and it's going to be you might want to come out to the Acid nightclub, and DJ Eli is going to be spinning some tunes. So we're going to have acid activations, tobacco activations, Herrera activations, underground activations. So we're bringing all these brands that don't have anything to do with that particular tobacco into the world of Drew Estate. We're also going to have our friends at Ventura Cigars. Mike Giannini, he's going to be there with his Access Monday that we make for them. So they're going to be they're going to be talking to that. And last but not least, my very good friend John Huber and his cigars are actually, we just signed them in. They will be there at Kentucky. They will be
wow.
they're going to be at Kentucky, because they're down the road in Nashville. And since we make a cigar, actually we make 2 cigars for them, that one of them released last year and the other one should be releasing very, very shortly. He's coming out and whatnot. So
tremendous.
Tickets for Kentucky, tickets for Pennsylvania, tickets for Connecticut, Kentucky, and Louisiana will go out shortly in the summer. Right now there's a few tickets left for Florida, and then there's
which I'll be going to.
Oh, well, I look forward to seeing you. And then there's a few tickets left to Pennsylvania. So
if you go to barnsmoker.com, you can find those tickets there. So absolutely tremendous.
I hope to see all you guys there, and maybe we'll do a crazy video or this and that, whatever, at the Barn Smoker, huh? How about that?
I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely. Okay. Can't thank you enough. Fabien Ziegler, everyone. Really appreciate everyone out there who stuck around, watched, and listened. If you download us again, leave a review and win yourself a cutter. But you could also do a nice little trick. If you actually unsubscribe, don't forget to resubscribe. But that bolsters the numbers and actually gets us a little bit further up the list. And you can always find us a lot easier, which is always really nice. But don't forget to resubscribe, because that's important. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Facebook at ELOSOFUMAR. And that's where you can message me with the screenshot of the review. As always, we really appreciate our guests. We really appreciate our sponsors like Drew Estate. And if you are listening to us on any podcast format, you are listening to us exclusively because of Cornelius and Anthony Premium Cigars. We thank all of you who hung out with us this evening. Tremendous time with you, Fabien. Thank you. So he's Fabien Ziegler of Drew Estate. I'm Baird Duplessis. And guess what? We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.